Welcome to episode 4 of our podcast series where we talk to professionals with extensive experience in different industry verticals, but primarily focusing on customer experience. Our goal is to create a platform where knowledge is shared and innovative ideas are discussed, ultimately contributing to the advancement of customer experience field. Today, we are excited to have Chetan Khosla as our guest. So, Chetan is a distinguished professional with a remarkable track record. He's a chairman and managing director of WyzMindz Solution Private Limited, where he has been driving force for over 13 years. Additionally, Chetan is a MD of Asteya Services, a member of NASSCOM Regional Council, and a board member at PACT India. His extensive experience and contributions to various organizations make him an important voice in the field of customer experience. Let's begin. Hi, Chetan.
Suryojasvi, Nidhi.
Okay, so Suryojasvi, can you explain more on this? What is this Suryojasvi?
So as you can see, Nidhi, I'm part of the Suryojasvi group, and we use this as a salutation to each other, and it means that I salute or I recognize and salute the Suryojasvi within you. The Suryojasvi is a person who is brilliant like the sun.
Oh, wow.
So basically, I'm saying I recognize the brilliance of the sun within you and salute it.
Very nice, very nice. So, welcome to our podcast, sir.
Thank you, Nidhi. Pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
So, Chetan, there's two ways to start this podcast. So, as you have 30 plus somewhere experience, so I have done a little research. I have 15 questions with me. So, what we can do is either we can start with these 15 questions, or what as before this camera started rolling out, we were discussing about AI. We can start directly with AI.
Okay.
Okay. So the first thing is today everyone is this AI frenzy kind of a thing, right? So when we meet with customers and they often express their interest to integrate their services like sales, um, collections or customer experience, integrate this AI into these services. But when we ask them how you want to do or what all you are looking for, or the specifics they are looking for, they don't have any answer for that. I'm sure that you also faced the same problem in the recent past, or this, you may be in that situation in the recent past. So can you help us to understand more on this?
See, Nidhi, I think AI is has as a technology has been under development for the past 30, 40 years. And initially it began in the defense or the intelligence community, basically where they wanted to go through millions of mails or documents to detect something fishy, or listen to calls, eavesdrop on calls, and figure out if there's some conspiracy which is happening or not. So that technology, and like many other technologies, it got initiated in the defense or the intelligence sector, and now we are trying to figure out how to use this and make it useful for the industrial sector or the corporate sector. My first brush with speech and text kind of solutions happened in 2009. I was head of quality for a company called Aegis, and we had some 45,000 agents spread across the globe. And that's when some of these vendors came to me and said that you can use it for quality, monitoring and management. So that was one, and then I asked them what is it that it will do for me. I was not an AI expert, right? I still am not, and I'm a business user. So I asked, what will it do for me? They said, you will get to know what kind of things customers are talking about. And today you are doing sampling. While you can get it in sampling, you will get to know it in 100% of the cases. I said, no. I could get the same kind of information on 100% of the cases using my CRM. It still tells me what kind of things are customers coming to me for. So, to cut a long story short, I figured out that while these technologies at that time uh, were useful in that environment, defense or national threat kind of environment, where you want to detect this thing, it wasn't particularly useful in our setup for the kind of customers that we had. Or at least the risk of that was not very, very high. Okay, so my view was that wherever it is, whatever it is that these products can do, we can do it using our normal sampling procedures and listening to calls and so on and so on. So suffice it to say, I did not buy, neither did I recommend to anybody to invest in these kind of technologies. And then I set up my own company, and there was one of my customers, a very good customer, and he said to me that, look, you are a trusted advisor. We trust your knowledge and expertise, and you've been a good consultant. Don't tell us not to use these technologies. We are going to invest in this. Now, many people do take these decisions. Many companies take these decisions not because something is going to be useful to them, but just because they want to show that they are doing something which is high tech. They're differentiated. Many times, robots have been deployed in industrial sectors, not because it is going to reduce costs, just because they want to show it as a technology demonstrator. Sorry. So he said, "Here we are going to invest in this." Imagine that the decision is taken, and you help me figure out the best use of this technology. I thought it was a brilliant question. It was Ramesh Chandrasekhar. He became a great friend also, and I thought it was a very intelligent question to ask to me. And then I did consulting works, and my whole process shifted from saying, is there a cost benefit? Can I reduce certain costs? Can I do something effectively? To figuring out how that technology could be best used. Right? The question that you asked, how people are still confused, because this is evolving technology, and I can understand that very, very well. Yeah. So that helped put some attention to this, and this was a customer service environment. And I think there are due to that exercise, I figured out that there are certain things that we cannot do in while sampling easily, or that the risk is quite high if you don't use these technologies. And that's what, therefore, we figured out. I advised him on that, and my view has remained constant. Another thing was that can we reduce the number of staff who are doing this auditing and monitoring? And it was my view then. It still remains now, but it was stronger then, and it is lesser now. At that time, it was that it cannot happen that with those technologies, you cannot replace quality auditors or team leaders. You simply can't. Why? Because those tools at that time, that technology at that time, never had the ability of context. Right? It was mostly word spotting and making some sense of type of calls which are coming in, etc., etc. With that, you don't have the context, and therefore, it's very difficult for you to pass judgment. Now, with generative AI, that barrier is getting broken. It's not fully broken, but it is getting increasingly broken. The AI is becoming more intelligent. It is still artificial, but it is far more intelligent than it was previously.
Earlier, yeah. See, in case of national security, ROI is not what anyone asks. But when we talk about customer service or sales, ROI is important. So Chetan, can you give me example on how companies are getting ROI?
Okay, so so what is of concern to nations? It's a parallel can be drawn, right? Just like you said that ROI is not a concern as far as the country is concerned or the country's security is concerned. Similarly, there are certain elements of a business which are never driven by ROI. Those considerations there are no ROI considerations. Like, for example, something called brand risk.
Yeah.
Okay. So even if the possibility of something happening is small, the brand risk is such a high risk that you don't want to take that risk. You want to prevent or put all your energies in so that brand risk never happens. So let me give an example. Let's say, and that's something you cannot detect using your quality monitoring or your team leaders who are supervising and so on and so forth, because they are going to do only sampling, right? Now imagine if the brand risk is only, let's say, 0.5% or 0.1% across all the transactions that are happening. Assume that there are 100,000 transactions happening every day, and imagine that the brand risk is only on 0.1%. That means that there will be 100 transactions where there would be brand risk, and it would be extremely difficult for you to detect all these 100. Even if you do 500 samples across 100,000 calls, right? But you want to ensure that these 100 calls where there was brand risk, they are detected, and there is some proactive measure taken so that it does not affect the brand. Right?
Brand, yeah.
What are the kind of things which are brand risks? So let's say, for example, an agent abuses the customer, okay, or missells or misrepresents something to a customer. Now, this is unlikely to happen in most cases because the people would there is training, there is some kind of monitoring. People are told not to do this, but some cases it still happens, and you cannot detect it through quality monitoring because it's sample based. So you can detect some of this because you are doing word spotting, or you're doing now more contextual intelligence is there. So you can do the recording and go through the recordings through automated means, which is AI means, and figure out which are the transactions on which you are having brand risk. So there is no ROI on this, but it definitely is like insurance. In insurance, you don't want something to happen.
But you still take,
right.
yeah.
So there is no ROI on insurance that you will compute, but you still need to do it, right? Because it makes sense for you to do it. Now, are there ways in which we can use it where there is positive ROI in a customer service environment or a sales environment? Yes, absolutely. Let me give some examples. Now, imagine you are running a sales operation. You want sales to happen well, right?
Yes.
And how will you drive sales? You will drive sales by ensuring that your people who are doing sales, they are skillful, that they pitch the product when the opportunity arises, that they if the customer comes up with an objection, they have the right skills to probe and handle those objections well. Now, so if we break this down or try to make sense of this, you would want to know what is my pitch rate, if you will. Okay, whether I pitch the product or not. So I have 100,000 calls. Probably I would be able to pitch the product only in maybe 10 or 20,000 of those calls. I want to know whether that my ability to pitch is improving or not improving. Now, you can do it through sampling, but you will need to do a very large number of samples, because this is not happening on the pitches are not happening on every call. Or a cross-sell, upsell is not happening on every call. Or a customer retention is not happening on every call. Right? And you want to know for each of those calls where which are important for the business. Cancellation calls, refund calls where a lot of risk is there. There you want to know 100% what's going on and whether things were handled well or not. So you could measure something called pitch rate. Then you could measure something called negotiation skills capability or negotiation quality. And then try to improve it for each individual who has it on the scorecard. Now, the fact is that if you use these AI, there are going to be some false positives and there are going to be some false negatives. Because AI is not perfect. But neither are human beings. So for human beings, we need to do calibration. Now, in this case, what we would need to do is we enrich this data, or we want to bias the sampling wherever you have the risk. Let's say you want to improve sales. You want to take out all those calls wherever there was some objection that was there and it seemed to the AI that it wasn't handled well. And it gets passed to a QA or to his team leader who investigate whether this was done well or not. And if it wasn't, then you correct that. And therefore the process, you create a virtuous cycle of improvement of skill.
So I have a question.
Yes.
So you're saying that while sampling work in some cases, but high critical cases like brand risk or mis-selling or 100% monitoring has its importance.
Yes.
So now, can you give me one example from a collection environment?
For sampling or a sampling mechanism, or for 100% recording AI?
For 100%, yeah.
Yeah, of course. Just so see, even in collections, you are pitching, and one of the main things in collections is that sometimes when and very, very important in some companies, in some countries, right? Like there is something in US, for example, there's something called and UK, for example, there's something called the Miranda. So you are supposed to mandatorily say a few sentences before you even begin the call, right? And if you don't do it, your operation can be shut down. If somebody reports, your operation can be shut down.
Oh, okay.
So it's a very, very serious risk if somebody doesn't do it. So you want to know all such or there are very heavy penalties. For one instance, you could be charged $100,000 or $200,000.
Oh, okay.
So huge risk to brand, to the company, to the viability of the company itself. So you could, one is you could detect compliances wherever there is compliance related, which is law. Detection of that on 100% of the cases. Again, don't do sampling for where law is involved, where legal issues are involved. Now, fortunately, we don't have those kind of issues, mini Miranda in our country. But look in the Indian context. There could be some threats that are given. Now, even though it is not, I'm not sure whether it is lawful or not to give a threat, but that's not something which is expected from well-managed companies, right, or good companies. So if there is a threat which is being detected, again you will ensure, and you can't do a sampling over there. You will again have to do to ensure that each and every instance there was no threat that was given to any customer. It's again a very, very huge risk. But just like sales, collections also involves negotiation if done well. Right? You need to show the case, the best case, and you need to give the right kind of messages to the customers so that they pay what is actually due, or negotiate, or ensure that you can cure the account by giving the right kind of negotiation rules or following those rules. So you can detect whether that is happening or not, and therefore increase your possibility of of getting the collection. Another way you could use AI is to use it across multiple cases. Let's say, for example, in certain multiple calls, for example, a case which extends over multiple calls. The agent, the customer says, "I will pay," or "Call me back, tomorrow." Now, if that doesn't happen, typically you are supposed to, arrange for a callback. On the CRM, you need to mark it. Now, there could be a place where there could be an instance where an agent forgets to click on that, and then AI could say that you missed. If it detects it, you missed marking this. The callback.
Next step, yeah, or a callback, yeah.
So it can pop up and say, "Please ensure to call back. The customer asked you to call back," something like that. But it has to be almost immediate response.
So AI is not going to result in job loss. It is an enabler, I guess, and
No,
no one should
I won't
get
say.
worried about it, right?
No, I don't think so. Let me explain. See, I think AI, is a tool, is a new technology, and technology can be used well, and technology can be used constructively. It can be used destructively, and it can be used foolishly. So, whether it will lead to job losses or not, it depends on the people who are making the decisions. There are people who would want to say that humans are replaceable, and with AI, and to the extent they are replaceable, those jobs will get eliminated. Now, which are those jobs, whether they are actually replaceable or not, or should be replaced or not, that's a question that people should ponder over. First, if I was to advise anybody, I would say, first go to the first principles. Why are you doing that process, and does it deserve to be eliminated? So, I'll give you an example. There's this digitization wave which is still continuing, but it was existing even before the AI thing happened, right? People were aggressively moving their customers to apps, and they would say, "Okay, we will not serve certain kind of transactions on calls at all," and made it extremely difficult. Now, many times, and there was this huge metric that people were pushing, that how can we reduce the overall kind of calls, overall call volume coming into call centers, by moving people to apps or to IVR. Okay, so sometimes to just reduce the call type, they reduce the IVR. They would create an IVR to reduce the number of calls. On other cases, they created apps so that they again don't have to come to a contact center, and their queries, questions can get resolved on the app itself. Okay. Now, what are the kind of things where it would be useful, or which are the kind of things where it won't be useful? So I have seen that most of the times it has been where this approach was taken. It was whatever was possible was done. Whatever could be done was done without thinking through whether it was beneficial to be done or not. So let's say, imagine this. If you think of all customer service as cost, then you want to reduce as much cost as possible, right?
Absolutely.
But take a step back. In collections or in sales, what is it that you are trying to do? The first step is trying to reach the customer and establish contact.
Yes,
and there's a huge amount of investment that you are making to establish that contact. Now, here the customer is coming to you, has established the contact, and you don't want him to make the contact. Isn't there a foolishness in that?
Yes.
So if there's a contact, can we think of whether in this contact there's an opportunity for a cross-sell or an upsell? Of course, there are certain contacts which are not going to be useful. Okay. And they are just pure cost. So in one company that I was advising, I said, you are trying to pitch cross-sell and upsell in most of your calls. See in which of those call types do you get the the return on investment, which is more than the cost that you are bearing. So don't look at it as a whole, right? That all calls are bad. There were call types. Even things like which calls, what is the amount in my account. Now the fact is, it's very, very easy to give it in the app. But if there's an old person who doesn't want to use the app, and if you're pushing him again and again, you're losing the opportunity to pitch to him that the new money that he has come to his account, he can put an RD on it, or he can do an FD on that, and so on and so forth. Who loses? You lose. Because you lost the opportunity to do a cross-sell and an upsell. So you must think through, what is it that you are trying to do? Are you trying to cut weight by cutting off your liver? Is it something healthy? Do you even want to do that or not? So it's all contextual. My guess is that there would be job losses. People would adopt it to do whatever it is that they can do, not what they must do or should do.
Right. So, Chetan, I was spoke to one of your co-worker at LG, and when I asked about you, so he said that he is useful, Chetan Khosla.
Yes.
And he then told me that even as a junior intern, you always wanted to create value for MD. So can you tell me that story?
No. So I think there are a few words that I liked, and there were a few words that I don't want my life to be associated with. And these words are powerful, and they are meaningful, right? Words are meaningful, and so one of the words is what is called Kash.
Kash. Okay.
And I think it is the worst word in that a person can ever utter in their life. It's about a life wasted. If you say Kash, maine ye kiya
Kash main kar pati.
So that is something that I never want to say ever. Right? If I want to do, I will go ahead and do it. Right? I don't want
kind of a regret you.
I don't want to have any. I don't want to have any regrets in my life. I want to live a full life. Another thing, while I was reading, one of the researches that I had read a long time ago was that people who retire, and especially in Indians, a lot of people die within a couple of years. Men, they die after a couple of years of retirement. Why? Because they suddenly have a huge sense of uselessness. Okay. And the reverse of uselessness is being useful.
Useful,
right.
yeah.
So I said, I am going to dedicate my life to always ensuring that I am constantly useful to and maximize my usefulness to whosoever is around me, to my team, to my clients, to my company, and to the world. So I'll always work out ways how to do that. Now this started very, very early, and when in fact I was in my first job as a GET. I was thinking about how I can help my boss get promoted, and my skip level boss gets promoted, and then it's in about 6 months' time. I was thinking about how I can create value for my managing director.
Oh, so we usually think how we can get promotion and
so it wasn't altruistic. So my view was very clear that only if my boss gets promoted will I create the space where I'll get promoted.
Very well said, yeah. So Chetan, I know that you use this term CKMLT. Can you tell us what it means and why you believe it is good way to explain stuff?
Okay. So this is when I was a trainer and a consultant. I got acquainted with a methodology. I got acquainted with a methodology called theory of constraints. And theory of constraints is basically physics applied to an industrial environment. It was written. It was by a great thinker called Eliyahu M. Goldratt, and he read his books. I read almost all the books that he had read, and I read his methodology. So one of the things that he says, and I believe it to be true, is that a lot of issues are fundamentally because of incorrect communication.
Okay.
And when we speak, we don't, or when we are attributing things, our thought is not very, very clear. And clarity resolves half the problems. Okay?
True.
So one is the test of clarity in our communication. And when we are trying to solve problems, we should be clear about what problem are we solving. We should be clear about, when we say a cause, then we should be clear about the cause mechanism through which the cause is being solved. So I saw multiple times that when I was teaching Six Sigma, that when people would make 5 why analysis, or they would do a fishbone diagram, they would put the head of the fish would be the effect, right? And they would say, okay, let's say there is a fatal error or something, some error that is happening. Fatal error is very high. And one of the cause dimensions would be training. Another cause dimension would be hiring. Now this is not clear. So are you saying that hiring causes errors? Or are you saying that training causes errors? So if I remove the cause, I don't train people, will the defect go away? If I don't hire, will the defect go away? So it is not clear. There is something about training, there is something about hiring that is leading to that cause. And it's not clear from whatever it is that you're writing. And therefore, what was recommended, so I devised a way to check. I called it CKMILT, which was Chetan Khosla's mother-in-law test. Of any communication, or when you're doing problem solving, that all the steps that you are following should be clear to Chetan Khosla's mother-in-law. And why? Because she's not from a business person. She's not from a corporate environment. She's well-read. She's very smart, educated, intelligent, and she has a lot of common sense. So she can understand a problem, but she can't understand the terminologies that you are using and the jargons and so on. So the things should be what you are saying or communicating. You must practice so that it is so clear that even Chetan Khosla's mother-in-law can understand that.
So that's CKMILT is Chetan Khosla mother-in-law test.
Yes.
Very nice, sir. So Chetan, can you recommend 2 books that you would want young professionals to read, and books that shape your personality and career?
I think every book is a summary of a person's life. When people write a book, then basically what is getting written is the cream of all their experiences and learning that they have had. So you can live multiple lives vicariously, and therefore enrich your life with their perspectives, right? You can gain those experiences without going through those experiences. It's a very, very cheap mechanism to learn. So Eliyahu M. Goldratt's books are great. All of them. He wrote The Goal, etc. This is from an industrial engineering setting. For sales, he wrote Goal 2, which was about using theory of constraints on sales. He wrote for project management. He wrote a book called Critical Chain, and that made a lot of sense. And then there are tools for analysis. Now, I think there are plenty of books that are there, and which will be helpful. But I really, if somebody is starting out, I would definitely recommend to them the 7 habits of highly effective people. Getting the right habits. So atomic habits is something which would be very, very useful. But most importantly is for a young professional to have the right attitude. So you must choose where you think that you can be useful and you can maximize your usefulness, right?
Yeah.
And then that will become joy, because giving is joy, right? When you are useful, you are giving, and then you figure out what is the way in which you can give the maximum. And if you have the right attitude, right center, you will do well, and some of these things will help. Another thing for mid-level professionals, I think, which is useful for anybody in business, is this book called Blue Ocean Strategy. I love the book.
Ocean strategy.
I love the book. It's fantastic.
Thank you for this. Now, Chetan, we talked about AI is still evolving,
Yes.
and AI is useful.
Yes.
We also talked about how AI can help sales and collection operations.
Yes.
And then about CKMILT and its usefulness.
Yes.
And about these 2 books. Now,
Well,
we know that
CKMILT is even useful for AI. See, any tool or software finally works only if things are clear. There's a famous acronym which goes in garbage out. Many times, if you feed in documents which are incoherent, right? Then AI, which is learning from whatever you are feeding it, if that's incoherent, it will produce incoherent results.
Yes, absolutely. Right.
Yeah, please ask the question.
So we know that TransMon is helping plus 25 unicorns with analytics. Now, tell us, what are the new technology that team is working?
So we are still working on our mission to expand our usefulness to our clients and to the world. We're trying to solve newer and newer kinds of problems. I can't tell everything, because some of it is...
Any use case would help us?
No, I don't want to talk about a lot of specifics because, well, we are working on it, and would not be appropriate. There are certain things which should only be shared when they are out. Also these are business secrets, etc. But we are strongly working to ensure that AI is incorporated in all our tools, in all our products that we are offering to the market, including speech and text. To ensure that every user who is utilizing our products, they are able to do things, whatever they were doing, faster and better. So basically, it is AI assisted users, right? So we assist our users through AI. We are not eliminating users. We are assisting our users through AI. And in certain cases, whatever the users were unable to do earlier, they are enabled to do that now. So what was not possible to be done earlier, now is going to become possible for those users. Right? So that's the broad way I can say. But we are constantly working, innovating. TransMon has been an innovative solution. It's been a blue ocean solution when it was a blue ocean solution when it was born. I still believe it is to this day, though a lot of people try to bracket it in certain areas. But TransMon is a fantastic solution for measuring, managing, and improving operations. But across the value chain of CX operations, field service operations, we are working so that AI gets incorporated, and our products and solutions that we are using will increase their usefulness, ease of use to our customers, simplifying it far more, simplifying it for them.
So Chetan, there is this talk about this work-life balance. And then a lot of people say young professional should work for 80 hours a week.
Yes.
What is your view on
Narayana
this?
Murthy said that, right? So, and there was a big brouhaha about it. And Narayana Murthy is an icon, he's a very wise person. I have a huge amount of respect for him. But I have always believed, even before he said what he said, that this thing about work-life balance is a big scam. Even when I was even as I was starting out in my career, I never believed that this made any sense. You look around, anything that is excellent, that's been created by people, or if you see great people, you won't see something called work-life balance with them. What you will see in them is devotion, right? That they're devoted to their causes. It's not that there is work happening separately and life happening separately. Work is life. It is joy. So if I want to relax, I will sing a song, right? But if Lata Mangeshkar sings a song, it is work for her, right? But does she see it as work? The answer is no, right? Or Mohammad Rafi or Kishore Kumar. For them, their work is joy. Now, that's not only true for singers and dancers and cricketers and people who play golf. If you see good people who play golf, they're enjoying, right? A lot of corporate bigwigs, they play golf to have fun, to relax, to wind down. But excellence requires you to be devoted to whatever it is that you are doing. And that's true for any work that we do. And so if you want to excel, and I guess every young professional should want to excel.
Wants to excel, yes.
Why won't you want to excel?
Yeah.
If you don't want to excel in that field, don't be in that field. Go somewhere else.
That is what I was about to say.
Yes.
So if you are in your chosen field, then should be devotion in that.
Yeah.
And when there's a devotion, then life is work kind of a thing. And I don't think so there would be this statement comes in that work-life balance is not there.
Right. And the fact is that for most of our people, what you are doing is what you are chosen. There is nothing called an accident, right? The reason you are there. So let's say, for example, a long time ago when I was studying, I was doing engineering, I wanted to be in ISRO. I wanted to be a rocket scientist.
Okay.
Now it so happened that I didn't land up there, and I started doing industrial engineering in a company, etc. And I loved it. So I guess there are only two ways for us to live life. You either marry the woman of your choice, the one you like or love, or you love the woman that you are married to. Similarly, either you take the career that you love, or you love where you have landed, and that's the way to live life and to be devoted to whatever it is that you do. See, it is not important what you are devoted to. It is not important what you love or who you love. What is important is that you are devoted to something. What is important is that you love something. That's how you live. Yeah. So I think that professionals should love their work. They should be devoted to it. And then this question of whether it is 60 hours or 70 hours or 80 hours would not arise. Whether you are eating, breathing, sleeping, you would always be that. That's what I believe in.
Thanks a lot, Chetan, for giving us time. And I believe you me, I loved every second of our discussion. Thanks again.
Thanks
again for
Thank you very much.
on our podcast. Bye-bye.
Bye.